Would you like to know what's behind the fancy footwork in the press and on television when the big sports stories break? Richard Littlejohn asks the experts, guest celebrities, the audience and you the question, do I not like that? Starting Thursday at 10:45 on Carlton.
Tonight in Theatreland, the doomed Gascoigne family of kind hearts and coronets and the nastiest ventriloquist dummy ever to disgrace a stage.
Next tonight on LWT from ITN, today's international news and sport.
This week on the South Bank Show, we look at the controversial and eclectic world of Gilbert and George.
America has always been very important to us. It all started when we were baby artists in 1970.
That's Gilbert and George on the South Bank Show.
You're watching LWT.
From the studios of ITN, the news with Nicholas Owen.
Good evening, welcome to the programme. Tonight's headlines: government climb down as Major faces new Commons defeats. Former Archbishop of Canterbury attacked for criticising modern services. And England's hopes for victory on the last day of the second test. The Home Secretary Michael Howard has signalled a government climb down over plans to allow police to bug and break into property. He says an amended police bill will now go before the Lords on Wednesday, and he's admitted that on Thursday the government's facing defeat over its crime bill. Adrian Britton reports.
Back in Downing Street tonight, the Prime Minister is braced for yet more parliamentary defeats, though this time on territory the Tories consider sacred: law and order. The government's bill to give police greater powers was even condemned by some Tory MPs as an infringement of civil liberties. Faced with a humiliating Commons vote, the Home Secretary has now agreed that police will need judicial approval before sensitive surveillance operations, such as the bugging of solicitors and journalists.
I want to achieve effective safeguards which don't inhibit the ability of the police to protect society from dangerous criminals, from kidnappers and terrorists and the rest.
While Labour will support the amendments, they're set to oppose a vote in the Lords to give burglars and drug dealers mandatory sentences. But even on bugging, the government is set for a rough ride in the Commons this week. The Liberal Democrats are not at all happy with what they see as a cosy deal between the Tories and Labour. They want judicial approval for all cases of bugging. And if the Tories lose the South Wirral by-election, Labour's threatening a vote of no confidence.
The British people have no confidence in this government, and it may well be that we will target the issue of BSE, mad cow disease.
Which, if the polls are right, could mean a snap general election. Adrian Britton, ITN, Westminster.
Leading Church of England clergy today rounded on the former Archbishop of Canterbury, Lord Runcie, for blaming the sharp decline in church attendance on modern happy-clappy services. One branded his remarks superficial and thoughtless. They put him directly at odds with his successor, Dr. George Carey, who strongly supports non-traditional styles of worship. Howell Jones reports.
A Bible beat at a church in West London tonight. No hymn books, but songs projected on a screen. No organist, but tapes and bongos. It's the kind of service Lord Runcie's described as a rave in a nave. But is he right?
I don't see that the Archbishop should really rule something out simply because he doesn't like it temperamentally.
Lord Runcie retired 6 years ago. Now he's calling for more tradition and less trendy worship. In a newspaper interview, the former Archbishop of Canterbury says, "I am temperamentally against those forms of clappy and happy, huggy and feely worship which seem to reduce God to a puppet. If you alter services just to get people into church, that's very dangerous." But many senior churchmen disagree.
I think it's essential that the Church of England, especially as we are seen as a national church, represents all styles.
In 1970, just over 1.5 million people attended church each week. By 1990, that had dropped by nearly 300,000. 2 years ago, attendance was down again. Evangelical services like this one are at least helping to arrest that decline in attendance, bringing more and younger people into Britain's churches every Sunday. Howell Jones, ITN, West London.
A man has appeared in court in New Zealand charged with murder after yesterday's shooting rampage in which 6 people died. Residents in the rural hamlet where it happened have been trying to take it all in. From New Zealand, Mark Austin.
It was the morning after the day the people of Raurimu will never forget, and police began removing the bodies of the victims of New Zealand's 4th mass killing in 7 years. This afternoon, 22-year-old Stephen Anderson from Wellington, some 300 miles away, appeared in a local court charged with murder. The killings in and around a remote ski lodge were thought to have followed a family reunion, but today police said though one of the dead was the gunman's father, the other 5 who died were unrelated.
My brother-in-law happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. I think he was on his way to church.
Stephen Anderson, who had been found naked hiding in farmland, was remanded pending psychiatric reports. All day, locals have been paying their respects after an act of brutality that shattered this tranquil retreat.
So tonight, the people of this small rural community are still struggling to come to terms with the horror that's befallen them. And the country as a whole is grappling with a debate so familiar to Britain. Guns. Who should be allowed to have them and who shouldn't? Mark Austin, ITN, Raurimu, New Zealand.
A man's died and at least 40 people have been injured in the most violent clashes yet between police and anti-government protesters in Albania. Tens of thousands have been protesting for the past month against the government's handling of Albania's deepening economic crisis. The man who died suffered a heart attack. The lottery regulator has demanded an explanation over why Camelot has been unable to pay out money to last night's winning national lottery tickets. Camelot says it's had a problem with its computers, but it has just been fixed and money will be paid tomorrow. Here's Neil Connery.
For the National Lottery organisers, this latest computer delay has been yet another embarrassment. Camelot's computers showed an imbalance between the total prize money and the amount each ticket holder is thought to have won. Until that was fixed, all of last night's winners couldn't claim their prizes.
Oh, it's very annoying after all the advertising they've been doing about how successful they are compared with other lotteries in Europe and Japan and things like that, you know. So I'm annoyed, yeah.
We're having a slight problem with the machine at the moment.
This is the second technical hitch in the past 3 months. In December, the draw machine suffered an electrical fault, delaying the draw for an hour. The lottery regulator Oflot has now called for a full report from Camelot into this latest hitch.
After every draw, we go through the vast amount of data in the computers, and it's a very, very large and complex computer system, the biggest of its type in the world, in fact, carry out certain checks, and they all have to precisely balance as to how many winners are there.
Within the last few minutes, Camelot have said winners will be able to claim prizes from early tomorrow morning. Neil Connery, ITN.
6 climbers roped together plunged more than 500 feet from a peak in the Scottish Highlands today. It happened on Craig Meggie near Fort William, and RAF helicopters airlifted 3 of the climbers to hospital. The extent of their injuries isn't yet clear. A memorial service took place this evening to mark the first anniversary of the London Docklands bomb, which killed 2 people and ended the IRA's ceasefire. It was held in the church closest to where the bomb went off. The congregation included relatives of those who died and members of the emergency services. And the supermarket giant Tesco tonight announced that it's to become the first store group to open regularly round the clock. Some branches will soon open throughout the night every Friday, following trials which were held over the Christmas period. Cricket and England are going into the final day of the second test against New Zealand, for once scenting victory. England's Robert Croft took 3 New Zealand wickets yesterday, putting them in a commanding position. A few minutes ago, New Zealand were on 152 for 4. Here's Peter Staunton.
On a rain-affected day, New Zealand once again dug in and looked likely to bat for the rest of the afternoon. Atherton, for the moment, taking a relaxed view of things. Tufnell had given some hope for the travelling fans, Brian Young with a fine edge to Stewart. But with New Zealand making it into the last half hour without further problems, Atherton needed a minor miracle. It came from Robert Croft, a spinner almost ignored on the tour so far. He took 3 late wickets. Croft's second victim, he caught himself as Fleming tried to hit his way out of trouble. The third spun so much it took night watchman Patel completely by surprise. 3 for 6 in 11 overs. Atherton could have done with that sort of firepower against Danny Morrison in Auckland. And so, to the final day, and another half hour lost to the weather. And with Croft once again causing problems, the rain looked likely to have the final say. Peter Staunton, ITN Sport.
Boxing, Britain's Prince Nassim Hamed has added the IBF title to his WBO featherweight crown in dramatic style. Hamed almost ended it in the third round, but finally brought the title holder Tom Johnson to the floor and the 12,000-strong crowd at the London Arena to its feet in round 8. That's it from ITN's Weekend News team here. Goodbye.
Hello, good evening. It's a case of one depression after another at the moment. You can see the first behind me here on the chart, lining up in the Atlantic. That's set to bring some heavy rain into the northwest of the country tonight, and it's going to move across the country quite quickly over the next 24 hours. That's not the end of the story, though. Here's another one behind me to the west of us. That'll move in on Monday night. And between those two systems, a good number of wintry showers for Scotland and really strong winds, storm to gale force, in fact. So tonight, the first batch of heavy rains already into western Scotland and Northern Ireland. That's going to push down into northern parts of England and Wales by tomorrow morning, and carrying on moving quickly again tomorrow down into the southeast corner of England. I think by midday it will have left behind a situation, a mixture of sunshine and a good number of showers as well for most of the country. Now, we're starting off at a mile 10 in the south tomorrow, but we'll see those temperatures tumbling quickly to join the rest of the country as those showers turn increasingly wintry from the north. We'll see a couple of centimetres of snow there on the Scottish mountains, but I think the main feature of tomorrow, we're going to find very strong storm to gale force winds for most of us. That's all from me for tonight. Here's tomorrow's weather summary. Goodbye.
Power gen. Generating electricity whatever the weather.
This week is Love Week on GMTV, but will it start with wedding bells for Liam and Patsy? And an exclusive live performance of Aussie heartthrob Peter Andre's new song. Plus, live from Hollywood, the hottest predictions for the Oscar nominations.
To all that and lots more.
First thing in the morning on GMTV.
LWT weather, sponsored by First Choice Holidays, for a cool choice.
Good evening. Tonight we are just beginning to build up to a rather miserable start to the week, unfortunately. As we head towards morning, winds picking up, and it will be cloudy overnight as well. Temperatures around about 5, maybe 6 Celsius. So for the morning, the winds beginning to freshen, more cloud building up as well, which all adds up to a very miserable afternoon. Heavy outbreaks of rain and strong southwesterly winds as well. Good night.
For a more detailed 5-day outlook, call Weather Update, sponsored by First Choice Holidays on 0891 110000.
They've got influence. They've got power. They'll ask for your support. Very soon they'll be asking for your vote. They'll spend millions on campaigns. But who gives the money? Why is it given? And who does it benefit? Enter the intriguing world of the Men of Influence, a special World in Action investigation, Monday at 8 on ITV.
Next, Gilbert and George on the South Bank Show.
Tomorrow.
Where now?
Prague.
The Mitsubishi Charisma doesn't need an implausible plot shot by an overpaid director. The Mitsubishi Charisma. Some cars have it, some don't.
Excuse me?
I don't think I've ever seen Teddy looking so clean. I just hope he's a good swimmer.
Safeway Cyclone. Buy one, get one free.
You're watching LWT, now the South Bank Show, the first of two programmes about the artists Gilbert and George. The programme contains strong language and deals with themes you may find disturbing.